Good afternoon. It's Saturday the 4th of November 2023, and the other night I was privileged to get to the Ulster Hall to sit in on Simon Reeve's tour of the UK. His tour is entitled To the Ends of the Earth, and that is an apt description of this guy, because he has travelled, as the blurb there tells you, to more than 130 countries. He's an author, a TV presenter, and one of the world's most adventurous travels. You know, he does everything. He's not one of these people who has a limo waiting for him somewhere and a big caravan trips in behind him. His unique brand of documentary filmmaking combines travel and adventure with current affairs, history, wildlife, culture and conservation. His journeys have taken him all over the world, across jungles, deserts, mountains and oceans, and into oceans, of course. Some of the most beautiful places in the world and most dangerous and remote regions of the world. And this tour is on at the minute, and I'm going to run the tour venues down. The Belfast one was in the Ulster Hall, and it was packed, absolutely packed, and the atmosphere was excellent. But here you can see the tickets for these events are around about 30 quid, 33 quid. There's York, Leicester, Northampton. I mean, he's pulling out all the stops here, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, Newcastle, Glasgow. He's certainly getting around the place. Sheffield, London, Clondonlow, Bradford, Liverpool, Salford, Harrogate, Harrogate, London, and then he's into April, which is the second half, and it's To the Ends of the Earth again, Exeter, Swindon, and then October 24, Cardiff has been penciled in as well. And I'm just making this video to encourage anybody who has reservations as regards the ticket price and all the rest, but do go. This is really superb stuff. This is life-changing stuff that you will hear. We chatted to a few people who had come along for this event, and I was surprised to come across at where his books were being sold, and we came in behind a lady and her son, and they had travelled up from Limerick to get to hear Simon Reeve, and you know, he's so worth listening to. The event started at 7:30, and he went through to nearly 10 o'clock. 20-minute break or thereabouts. The whole thing embellished with on-scene video footage of behind-the-scenes footage of where he had been, and you know, outtakes and stuff, and all of that. So he referred to you know, short snippets of video and photographs that would periodically appear up behind him as he spoke. He'd bring a raconteur, just to let you in on some of the subjects he covered, and I'm not going to do it all. If you read down his Wikipedia page, you know, you'll get a good feeling for the guy. I'm always surprised whenever I find out how young he is. Or no, not how, no, dear. I'm always surprised at how old he is. You know, he comes across as, you know, somebody of about upper 20s, but he's 51, and he looks like an everlasting Peter Pan to me. But maybe that's just me. Maybe it's his style of patter, maybe it's his clothes, maybe it's his enthusiasm, or whatever it is. It's charismatic. He's an author, journalist, a documentary maker, speaker, TV presenter, husband, father, and a daredevil adventurer. He's covered 125 plus countries in the world, but it didn't start off this way. He tells, and he talks about mental health, which is a strange subject for a broadcaster to bring into his speech. He talks about his childhood being a very, very difficult time. You can sort of look into that yourself. He had behavioural problems. He walked out of his exams. He just couldn't cope with the anxiety. He only gained one O-level, which is remarkable, judging by, where he has got himself to now. He left school basically as a no-hoper. His schooling didn't augur well for, being a world-renowned broadcaster that he is today, and raconteur, author, documentary maker, film maker. You couldn't see it, but whenever he left school, he went into a plethora of different low-paid jobs, and eventually ended up being a postboy for the Sunday Times. And when he went home in the evening after, looking at all these various stories that was passing through the newspaper, when he went home, he did his own research, and he started to research on world terrorism, as you do as an 18-year-old, nuclear capabilities, gun running. This is just the everyday subject matter for a young lad, but he was into all of this, and he ended up writing a book about Osama bin Laden, and he wrote this book whenever he was 21, and nobody else had written a book about Osama bin Laden. And on the back of the book, by September 2001, the 9/11 attack had taken place, and Simon Reeve was elevated to the dizzy heights of a media expert on terrorism. This is just remarkable stuff, and the guy's only 21 or so. My goodness. His story is just fairy tale in its believability, but this actually happened. Anyway, the night he spoke for about 2 hours, as I say. What did he talk about? He talked about his childhood, certainly, in there. He talked about the dangerous situations he was in, and there's video footage and all, crawling here and stealthily walking there. He talked about how to pack for a long-range travel, and what were the essentials, and the toiletries that were essential to him. He talked about living and surviving in hot, extremely hot temperatures, and then he talked about surviving in extremely cold temperatures, minus 40 centigrade. This is nuts. And he took good advice from an old Eskimo lady, or was she Eskimo, up in no, she was an Alaskan lady, and she told him to dress like a cabbage. Now, what does that mean? It means wear multiple layers. So, going out in the ice, he put on maybe 8 layers of clothing, and it took him half an hour to get dressed, and he wore 3 different types of well, there was, first of all, there was the thick socks, and then there was the boot, and then there was another boot over the previous boot. He talks about living in isolated regions. He talks about the newly discovered underwater world. He's well into his scuba and his encounters with sharks and what have you. And forgot about mentioning his encounter with a lion, which was licking the condensation of his tent. So it's all good stuff. He's fervent about preserving these lonely, isolated places, because very often they are reservoirs of essentials needed for our world. We're talking about the Congo rainforest and the polar ice packs and what have you. He very, very much supports getting out there and discovering for yourself. Don't sit at home, as we have oft been told, stay at home. Well, he's a fervent supporter of getting out there, whether it be down the street, into a street or an area or location that you've never been, and investigate it and explore it, or travelling by plane to far off remote places that you would normally not go on holiday. And even though he's a big supporter, he doesn't want to, he wants to limit our carbon footprint and all the rest of it. He still sees air travel as being an essential item, and a necessary item. And he speaks about travel tourism, going to remote areas and being guided by the locals, and this will help them survive. So he does speak highly of the places he's been to and the scenes and the wildlife and all the rest of it, but he speaks even more highly of the people he meets, and they make the journey so worthwhile. Various indigenous African hunters and hunter-gatherer type people, and he talks about them, or people who are into conservation of wildlife against all the odds, and he speaks about them as well in his talk. Make an effort to get. And I've shown you the tour dates, and I thoroughly enjoyed hearing Simon Reeve. I'd love to meet the guy, spend an hour or two with him, but that's not going to happen. But there are interesting people out there. I know there's only one Simon Reeve, but there's plenty of other people, and they have their own. Each person's story is different. Each person can bring something to the table that is worthwhile documenting and remembering and passing on. Simon Reeve doesn't push anyone aside. He's not elitist or anything like that. He values the humble man or the humble woman as well, because he's quite a humble guy himself. You will get plenty of laughs. His experiences are tinged with honesty, good humour and fun, and he's so passionate and enthusiastic about what all he does, and of course he sings the praises of his wife, who has supported him through all, and his young son. So get along to Simon Reeve. He is so worth listening to, and if you can't get, go on Amazon and buy one of his 2 books. What do I see if it's down here? He's written a biography. Aye, there it is. 6th of September 2018 saw the release of Reeve's autobiography called Step by Step, the life in my journeys, covering his humble beginnings and successful author and television presenter. I think it is a second book, I can't remember what it's called, but you'll find them on Amazon anyway. There's the Osama bin Laden one. Step by Step, Journeys to Impossible Places. Right. What a guy. What a guy. Okay. Thought I'd just give him a shout out. Not that he needs my shout out, but if you're in 2 minds about going to see this guy or getting hold of his book, just go for it. I've got to say, he so reminds me of someone who was a traveller, and that was Alan Wicker. You remember Alan Wicker, those of us who are old enough? But drop the fancy, the 3-piece suit, and drop the posh accent, and you've got Simon Reeve. Almost the same. Well, not quite. They have their own personalities, but the same idea. Same idea. 2 good guys, worth listening to and getting to hear.